Now been 10 months since geologist Daniel Robinson went missing in the Buckeye Desert. His dad had been conducting his own searches near where his son's crashed Jeep was found.
Yeah, it's still a mystery, and with his son still missing, he says funding has run dry and he's going to stop searching, at least for now. Brianna Whitney's been following the case for us, spoke to Daniel's father today. Do we know what comes next?
He doesn't even know what comes next. And I think what's so hard in this case is there's just so much unknown here. And that's what's so hard. His dad made a point to say just because he's pausing his desert searches does not mean he's giving up on the case. Because David Robinson has conducted his own investigation alongside law enforcement, he's working largely off donated funds. He says right now there's just not enough to keep group searches going after 10 months.
June 23rd, 2021. The last time anyone saw Daniel Robinson. Yet his dad, David, keeps one thought in the front of his mind.
My son may still be alive out there somewhere.
David Robinson drove to Arizona from the East Coast after his son went missing from his geology job site in Buckeye last summer. His Jeep found crashed about 3 weeks after. Since then, David has been leading organized desert searches with volunteers several times a month. They've found bones that belong to others, but never Daniel's. David says he relies on GoFundMe dollars to keep his own investigation and searches up. And he says the reality is those funds have run out.
The operations search, the organized search is on pause for now.
He says while searches are on hold for now, he's focusing on a different part of the investigation with items found at the Jeep crash site.
One of the biggest parts for me right now is to get the forensics work done for everything else that I found, the clothing, my son's wallet, his cell phone, There's another additional cell phone that was found out there doing my searches close to that area. That phone itself, also the work computer and his personal computer.
David says he's taking his efforts to the next level, filing a 501c3 Tuesday to launch the Daniel Robinson Foundation, where he hopes he can not only raise more money for his own investigation, but can also provide funding to other families dealing with missing loved ones.
The goal is to help other families to not go through the same thing I have been through just to get to this point.
While the Buckeye Police Department has not found evidence of foul play at this point, David says he still believes something criminal happened and says he will stay living in Arizona to see his son's case through.
I'm here until I find my son. That's what the goal is. That's why I'm really fighting. I'm doing everything I can to make sure that happens. I think any father, any mother would do the same.
Buckeye Police tells me Daniel's case is absolutely still active and an ongoing investigation. They're still working on conducting new interviews, looking at satellite imagery, checking financial activity, and working on forensics and targeted searches in that area. Live from now in the studio, Brianna Whitney for Arizona's Family.
A dedicated father, no matter the result in that case. Brianna, thank you for that.
Thanks so much for joining us. Our big story right now on 12 News at 6. May 23rd will mark 11 months since Daniel Robinson vanished in the Buckeye Desert.
His father moved here from South Carolina and has been leading search efforts almost every weekend. But now he says donations have dried up and he's hitting the pause button on the search.
So what is next? Team 12's Josh Sanders has been following the story from the very beginning and has more.
Sometimes your body want to say, I can't do it no more. But my mind say, I got to keep going.
Nearly every weekend for the last 10 months, David Robinson has been here, searching the Buckeye Desert with volunteers, hundreds showing up to look for his son, Daniel.
10 months is a long time. Every day is that same thing over and over again. Daniel's still out there missing.
He's organized hundreds of search groups, using drones and other technology to canvass miles of desert terrain around the crash site of Daniel's 2017 blue Jeep Renegade. Daniel's clothing found inside out, boots and socks, wallet and laptop. No blood, no signs of injury, no signs of Daniel. He hired a private investigator and collision expert.
After the airbags came out, somebody turned that ignition over at least 46 more times.
David's teams even found human remains, but not Daniel's. Funding generated through a GoFundMe account. More than $250,000 raised through thousands of donors.
Everybody made that possible for me to remain here. Started off with roughly 200 people coming out there on weeks to go out there and search with me. That number has dramatically dropped. I'd be lucky if I get 20.
But that funding has now run dry, leading David to temporarily pause the desert searches.
The stress of the demands of trying to get the forensics work done on the vehicles and the clothing and everything else. Then I had to take away some of the equipment that's very vital and crucial.
Buckeye police do not have evidence pointing to foul play. Despite pausing the searches, David remains determined to find his son and help others with missing loved ones. He's in the early stages of establishing a foundation in Daniel's name to support other families with similar stories.
It's a non-stop deal for me. I want to make sure that the same thing that I have gone through don't happen to another family. So if I can help it.
Josh Sanders, 12 News.
My name is Daniel Robinson. I attend AC Flora, and I'm planning to major in geology at the College of Charleston.
Good job.
Start kind of interviewing the people in the circle, or you go out to the side, or what happens?
Well, that was a long trip. You can imagine I'm doing everything from the car while I'm driving, talking to co-workers, to this company, to the police department, trying to get things done while I'm driving. Once I made it to Arizona, I did get a call from my auntie from Philly telling me that the police department was putting a Phoenix Firebird, it's called a helicopter, they call it Phoenix Firebird in the air. I was relieved, but I was right there, so I'm like almost 3 days later. Once I got in town, the first thing I wanted to do was start my own investigation. And one of those things was to talk to the only person that saw my son, last.
I have to think that your training in the Army had to have helped something. I mean, is it a grounding for you? I mean, I know that the love for your son certainly pushed you, but something about being in the military must have helped you.
It did a lot. One of the things that I learned when I was in the military is that we never leave a battle buddy behind, and that's no matter what. We were not leaving a soldier behind, and so my son, he's my son, and I'm definitely not leaving him behind. That's thank you.
Daniel Robinson went missing 4 months ago. This is the last photo his family has of him. He's a 24-year-old geologist, last seen leaving his job site in Buckeye, Arizona.
As the Gabby Petito homicide case garners national attention, another young person has been missing for nearly 3 months, and his family is desperate to find him. 24-year-old Daniel Robinson, a geologist, was last seen on the morning of June 23rd, leaving his work site in the desert of Buckeye, Arizona.
David Robinson had only one thought on his mind as he drove the nearly 1,800 miles from his South Carolina home to Phoenix.
I had to find my son. And I'm still searching for him. Thank you guys for coming out this morning. My name is David Robinson. I'm the father of geologist Daniel Cornelius Robinson. My son Daniel, a graduate of the College of Charleston in Charleston, South Carolina, decided to take his career in geology to Phoenix, Arizona, where he wanted to start his life for himself, to pursue his dreams and his aspirations. My son's immediately after college landed his first job at a company called Matrix New World, also called Matrix Southwest Groundwater, an engineering company that hired him on as a field geologist, also known as a hydrogeologist. My son on June 23rd was sent out to fulfill his assignments that he get daily from his job. What he does is go to various well sites all over Arizona. Most of them are out in the desert in areas where future communities will be built, especially in the city like Buckeye, Arizona, one of the fastest growing cities in the United States and also in Arizona. And that city is being developed. The area that my son was sent to, he had to go to 2 well sites, one that was off I-10, closer to Phoenix, and the second was a little farther west out into Buckeye, the farther area into Buckeye. Both was in Buckeye, but the other was a little farther out, farther west, off of Sun Valley Parkway and Cactus Road area. On June 23rd, like I said, after leaving the first well site, my son contacted a worker from a company called Weber to find the location of the second well site to get directed into that site. They met at, according to this worker, my son met him on Sun Valley Parkway outside the entrance gate that leads to this well. They had a brief conversation, and once they had a little quick conversation, I guess, didn't know the details of those conversations, but had a brief conversation according to this worker. My son followed him to get to the well site. They had to go 1 mile west into the desert and then 2 miles north to get to the well site, where they spent roughly 10 minutes. In that 10 minutes, the worker said that he had conversations from checking my son's eyes to see if they're dilated to observing my son looking off into the desert, to my son asking him, do he want to, my son wanted to go home and rest, to go back to Phoenix. In that conversation, he said my son eventually, they had some conversation about the weather. rather to close the site down because of a storm that was a pending rain cloud that was above them. And my son decided to hop in his vehicle, backed his vehicle up, drove off, and to never have been seen again. Almost 30 days later, my son's vehicle been found in this ravine behind me. It's a 20-foot ravine. It looks kind of flat with the picture, but it's 20-foot ravine. Crashed with substantial damage to the front, 2 impressions on the windshield, red transfer paint on the side of the vehicle. And like I said, it was on the side. Outside the vehicle was a pile of my son's clothing. You see it right here. Pile of clothing was my son's clothing, supposedly be my son's clothing, his safety vest, and also his work boots. Inside his pants was his wallet. And inside the vehicle, there was his cell phone, the keys to the vehicle, and also his work computer, work laptop, and things like that. So according to the Buckeye Police Department, who assessed the scene, they just took pictures. There was no forensics work done at the scene, but they feel that my son did not sustain any injuries. And they also said he had a seat belt on, and that's probably the reason why. But at the same time, they say he had a severe head injury, a brain injury, as he kicked his way out the sunroof. They told me that he kicked himself out the sunroof. That's why the glass was on the ground. He kicked the glass out, and he got out the vehicle. And then when he got out the vehicle, like I said, he had severe head injury. The detective explained to me that when you have a head injury, a brain injury, it makes you feel hot, and you want to take your clothes off. And that's why his clothes is down there in the pile. Of course, as you know, many may know, I speak about it all the time. I had a brain injury. I have never done so. But that was the assessment of the Buckeye Police Department. They quickly said there was no foul play without looking at any kind of information from the black box data that they collected. I didn't like their answers to everything. They came out on public news on their public Facebook page and said they had no more leads to follow. They also followed it up with the local news. And then when I had the meeting a few days after the vehicle was found, they told me they didn't do any forensic work at the scene. And afterwards, they gave me everything. The first day, the second day after the vehicle was found, they turned the vehicle to me. Then after the meeting, they gave me everything that you guys see here at the scene, inside evidence bag marked for safekeeping. So they told me they didn't have any more investigation, that they had no more leads followed. They told my investigation, who ultimately came to grab the black data box information, that they didn't even have an investigation. They gave me the final report. They gave me a partial report first, and then they gave me a final report. To speed today, they're saying they have an investigation. I still have the forensics material that should be have forensics done to it. They said they did fingerprinting, something I requested when I did have that meeting. I still don't have the results of that. But as in the forensics of the clothing, to make sure it was indeed my son's clothing. The family, we can't even verify if it's Daniel's clothing or not. As you know, these things are inside evidence bags. I have no means to really look at them, examine them at all, because I don't touch those materials. Those materials will be going to labs, and I'm trying to get the funds to be able to get the forensics done on everything. So that's what's currently going on. I'm glad you guys came on this morning to this Q&A. This Q&A is designed to answer a lot of your questions about this case. This case has been going on for, it's one of the hardest things that comes around every month. Just coming up to another, what you want to say, some people call it an anniversary date, the 23rd. 23rd is coming up really quick here in a few more days. Every time it comes around to get close to it, it brings a little extra pain and extra, hurt to your heart. From our family standpoint, my standpoint, my mood gets really hard at the time. But you know what? We got to keep on pushing this thing. And, just the whole idea of knowing that, last time I talked to my son was 2 or so days before he went missing. And, just missing his voice and missing his presence in our life is a hard thing, and trying to keep this thing going and try to keep people, engaged in and, getting the help that we need to continuously search for my son and get those answers and, support and things like that. So very hard, getting kind of close to that moment. We're getting close to a year After this month, it'll be 11 months. We have a year if Daniel's not found, but before then. So we have the year that's coming up, and there's some of the things that presses on me. Of course, we have an event for that year mark. You guys stay tuned for that. Keep watching. Please help find Daniel.com right here on the Q&A. I have some information about that, so you guys can keep up with that event. But anyway, thank you so much again for coming out to the Q&A. Like I said, I started this thing based on searching for my son, my desire to find my son. Of course, we always rely on law enforcement to do a job. My son, he's a resident of Tempe and went missing out there in Arizona on his job site. Being in South Carolina at the time when my son was missing, that's over 2,000 miles away. It's like really far. It feels really far when you feel helpless, and you have to rely on law enforcement, the local law enforcement who's there when you're not. Of course, I didn't get any pull from them. Their first assumption and their ideas without evidence or anything from my son is that he's a grown man and he can disappear if he wants to, as if my son told them, hey, this is what I want to do. They just assumed, and then they acted upon their assumptions by canceling a simple helicopter flight that could have saved my son's life, that could have found him quickly. They canceled that. Being that they done that, I had to move. I'm a father. He's my son, and I had to stand in the gap for his mother and his siblings and everybody else to make sure that Daniel's safe. So tried my best to work with the department, got here, realized they didn't do any first search until almost 3 days later. They decided to do it based on something that my auntie called from Philly and said to them. They told her that it was put a bird in the air. There's no evidence that it did happen. And the reason why I say there's no evidence that it happened is only because they put it in the report that they had the Phoenix Firebird helicopter. But as in on the ground itself, the first thing I did as a father, of course, the father part of me, also an investigative part, but more so the father part of me, needed to look at this guy in the face at the well site who said that my son did something that's totally out of his character, totally different, like just wave and drive off to never be seen again. And all this extra stuff he's saying about my son, to the point where he played doctor and he said, I guess my son stayed still for him to look in his eyes to see if they're dilated and things like that. So, just to hear that, I needed to go talk to this guy personally to get those answers. But the same guy said he was at the well site for every day up to the date every day, all the way up to the date that I finally interviewed him, which is only a few days after my son was missing. And like I said, it was between the time after the time that the Buckeye Police Department said they did this Phoenix Airbird helicopter search. According to that worker, they never showed up. He said he heard about them saying they're going to do something like that, but he said he was there all day. He was there at the same well site my son was missing from. He'd been there all day, and they take his word for everything. They should take his word for that too. Well, I'm going to take his word for it. He said that he was there. He didn't even hear a helicopter or see any officers that day that they claimed is out there searching. So that prompted me to still push to try to get flight logs and things like that to find out if this thing ever did happen. Also, because of that, they almost a week or almost 2 weeks later, they decided to do a second search. I was here in Arizona, and of course, I grabbed my daughter, and we all came out there to get out there that morning early because they said they're gonna go there and do this Civil Air Patrol search. Of course, a couple things happened at Civil Patrol. I had to do a lot of recording, so I do have recordings of that event. But when I got there, they said it's gonna be there like 5 in the morning. 6 in the morning, I believe it was. And I got there like 5 to make sure I was there on time. So I was missing thing. They didn't show up until like 8. They showed up around 8 o'clock to Civil Air Patrol. I was relieved to see people show up there. They sat at the gate for a few hours. They told me I couldn't come in. the detectives. I asked to help as a father. Hey, I want to go help you guys go search for my son. They refused that. Matter of fact, the detective told me I wasn't allowed to come into the desert, into the gate, which it is public property, and it's my son. But I wasn't allowed to come in for whatever reason. And to make sure I didn't come in, they put a vehicle, one of the Civil Air Patrol vehicles, at the gate and blocked the entrance gate, so I couldn't come in while they down into the desert, whatever they was doing when they finally left. A little while later, of course, according to the report, which is falsified, on that report, when they say they had, I think they believe they said they had 2 aircrafts on that Civil Air Patrol. They didn't have 2 aircraft; they only had 1. It's one Fitz Air. I recorded these things. It's one Fitz aircraft. It's told me personally they're going to do 2 flybys. They only did 1 flyby, and after the vehicle that kept going back and forth for going up towards north, it disappeared. Never came back to the search. A few hours later, they finally came out of there and left. According to them, they had nothing. They didn't recover anything. They didn't see anything. They didn't find anything in the Civil Air Patrol. They later, the detective sent me an email with their flight plan of that aircraft, or the aircraft found, and things like that. And the irony part is this, and people don't talk about it much, but you guys need to really push this really hard. If you go on the website today, they have the Civil Air Patrol map on their website. And on that map is showing you the area that they searched that day. And that was on July the 9th, right? Make sure you pay attention to that date. On July the 9th, they did the Civil Air Patrol. I was there. We videotaped. I verified it through my video feed. And also I verified it when the map was sent to me by the Buckeye detective, Biffin. Sent me the email, and it's got a timestamp and date. But if you look at that map they have on their website today, if it's still there, if they don't erase it because I'm talking about it, you will see the location of the well site, and then you also will see the location where the vehicle was found, right? Mind you, this is July the 9th. The vehicle wasn't found until July the 19th by the rancher. So how did they notice where this vehicle is going to be put at before that date? I do not know. I'm still puzzled by that drama. So you guys can look at that, and that'll make you wonder, like, how is this department, the Civil Air Patrol, said they didn't find anything, but yet they have a map showing this point where my son's vehicle is found. Well, eventually, it's going to be found. I saw it on the website. I was made aware of it by some volunteers, and when I looked at it, like I said, I verified it by the email timestamp and also my pictures that those 2 dates did precede, when that map was created, precede the date the vehicle was found. So that's some questions that should be out there. I sent that to the media that didn't catch, but I'm kind of putting it out again for people to be aware of that part. Again, I'm David Robinson, the father of geologist Daniel Robinson, searching for my son, trying to do everything I can to find him, do everything to investigate what happened, trying to get forensics done that wasn't done at the scene, pulling that money out of my own pocket, and also utilizing some of the funds that the volunteers, so you guys, have been donating to help towards that. Of course, I have a lot of things to do. Is one of them is to make sure I'm in Arizona to fight for my son. I'm also have to have the awareness that I'm doing now, doing the live streams every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I was doing them every day, but I cut them down. Thank God for my team. Taught me into doing it on a Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. And today I do have 2 on Wednesdays. But to cut this down to those 3 days, so give me some time to rest. Of course, my mind don't want to rest when you have a son that's missing. You want to constantly push yourself to go even farther. And sometimes you have to sit back and make sure you take care of your mental health and make sure you take care of yourself. And that's why God blessed me with a team. But I definitely, keep pushing this thing. I need all the help I can because I'm trying to make sure I keep the campaign running. Like I said, keep myself here, keep myself on the fight against the injustice I feel my son is receiving from law enforcement, and also to try to push them to do more. And to, like I said, the awareness had to be out there. That's why I had the flyers, the banners, to car magnets, passing out flyers, following leads, billboards, things like that. Just do everything. All the stuff had to be funded. I had the searches. That was very costly. I had to cut back on the searches just to keep the awareness. I had to make a choice. Awareness is very important. That's the reason why a lot of times when there's media coverage, for instance, which I was able to obtain locally, and also my son's case went nationally. That brings resources by itself, and that keep the searches going. That keep the funding and things like that. What we need, to properly do searches and properly, get the funding to do the things I'm doing now. And but when the media starts drying up, when your story is getting stale, in the sense I call it, if no new leads or updates and things like that, they move on. And when that happens, also that goes with the funding and things like that goes away along with it. So my goal is to learn. What I had to learn is to build up your own platform, build up your own media coverage in a sense, and try to help yourself. And that's what this Q&A is all about. That's what this YouTube channel is all about, to make sure that I'm keeping my son's name out there, and hopefully keep you guys engaged, and also and try to get all the help that I can get. Of course, this morning, like I said, this is a Q&A. You guys have questions. A lot of people come to support, and I'm really grateful for you. Come out every morning, every time I have Q&A, and support. And I know you hear some of the same things over and over again. That's what the channel is about. It's about Daniel. Behind me, you can see nothing but Daniel. See the vehicle. It's about him. It's about to find my son. That's what I'm here in Arizona to do, and that's what I'm in Arizona to do. And that's the reason why I had to keep pushing. So I'm a father. This is my son, and you guys have been very supportive, and I know you have very great interest in my son's case, and that's why I decided to make a Q&A for everybody to ask the questions that they need to have. Also, because of that, I'm human. And there's other families who have tragedies. Just not a isolated thing or unique thing for my family. Like I often say, Daniel's not just my son; he's America's son. Because what it is, he's just an example of what happens here in the United States when people go missing, and the tragedies of the fact that LE's law enforcement is not there like they should. They reluctant to spend resources, and I think resources is well spent when you go out and find people, loved ones. That's what you go put that uniform on every day, and that's what those funds are for, not to hover it into your pockets or to reallocate it somewhere else where it's not needed. Those type things. So we're going to try to make sure, especially these states here, and that's one of the things I'm advocating, is to make sure that these states, especially Arizona, Alaska, New York, a lot of these states, Chicago, there are a lot of these states that, it's every state, but a lot of these states who have the biggest major problem with missing persons, that they utilize this money the right way and put some department within the department that would specialize in these missing persons, because obviously these officers not trained properly. Whenever you don't do no forensic work on the scene, like what happened to my son's case, you're not trained properly, or you just don't, or you have the wrong officers there who just don't care. So it's different ways, but those kind of trainings and things like that need to be done. Those city managers or whoever fund these departments need to make sure these departments are funded in those areas. They have a problem. Arizona have a problem, missing people. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, I can't be human if I can watch that and don't say anything about it, or don't do anything about it. A lot of families come to me with their stories. It's heartbreaking. We just had one gentleman missing his mother here in Arizona, and one of the biggest parts of that is I want to help. I want to help as much as I can. I have some volunteers that came out to my searches out there helping with this family. I'm very grateful. I reached out to him, gave him knowledge, sent him information that I know how he can help find his mother, and some of the tools that I use when I first started searching for my son. So I was able to tell him those things, and also invite him on to this Q&A to tell his mother's story, to get it out there. I really wanted him to come. Of course, I don't know what happened. I lost contact with him, but that door is still open for him if he needed. I also provided him information how he can do it himself if he likes. So some of those things. So, that's a part of I'm saying, is to try to share this with other families. That's this platform, Please Help Find Daniel YouTube channel, is not just for, it is for Daniel, but at the same time, that's my major and my first priority, but it's also to help other families if needed. So Also, I have a foundation filed. You guys need to be watching for that, upcoming stuff. And also on the 25th, don't forget, we're having a fast and prayer in a few days, next Wednesday. Asking you guys, can you please join in with us? Fast and prayer. I really, first of all, it's always been helpful for me. I pray every day. I pray all the time, often all day, off and on. So prayer is very key. Having communication with God, and also to get put in your petitions to, sincere desires of your heart. Also, the fasting is good for your soul. It's good for yourself. It's good for your body and things like that. And also, it's good to gain discipline into yourself and discipline into your mind, and that helps out a lot. It helps out tremendously. Some things come out only by fasting and prayer. So those two combination together can break chains and give you breakthroughs and stuff like that. So if you guys can do that with us, of course, we always ask the churches and stuff. I have one church here back at home in South Carolina that I had joined in before. You guys, in the churches, spread that up to your churches. That we do have the fast and prayer on the 25th. And the way I would bring those in is on a Q&A next Wednesday. On a Q&A, that fast and prayers is because, of course, the anniversary date month of Daniel's disappearance, the 23rd. But like I say, we try to do it on Wednesday for the Q&A. That way, like I say, I can get to pray, bring it in through prayer. And I don't put a timeline. You guys have your own timeline that's between yourself and God. How long you want to fast and pray. Your own health conditions, different things like that for yourself. But definitely, if you guys can join in unity with us, I really believe I get breakthrough. I want to find Daniel before the year mark. So if you guys really please join in, and hopefully we can gain a miracle. God will, and I still believe, regardless of fast and prayer. Now I really believe that he will bring my son back home to his family. So again, don't forget, I have a anonymous tip line for those who has probably been watching me for months now, been reluctant to say anything, and just trying to get that confident level to say something. I do have a tip line. It's a paid tip line. My funds is not from the law enforcement. Don't have any paid at all on it. Don't have any interest in it. But the thing is, when I say they don't have an interest, they're not funding it. I'm funding that. And they have live operators 24 hours, 7 days a week that will take your call. Very courteous. You can definitely stay anonymous if you like. They allow you to do that. Like I say, you can do it 24 hours, 7 days a week. But if you don't want to talk to anybody, you can do like what I have down on the bottom of the screen there. You can also text the word tip to that number, the same number. You can text the word tip to that number, and the form will still come up, and you guys can leave your tip if you like. If you want to stay anonymous on that, also you have the option to stay anonymous. And also through that, you can correspond with my investigator myself. So thank you so much for taking time to even consider that. If you know anything at this point, it is. I don't know who may know something or who you are. I thank you for, first of all, if you're out watching this whole thing, and you're at least that let me know that you have something. People have that humanity. That humanity is there. Sometimes, like I said, we have a long-standing tradition that I grew up with. It's called snitching. You don't snitch. Snitches get stitches. You hear all those kind of phrases, those catchphrases. Those little catchphrases that criminals put out there, so you won't say nothing. I dare you to say something. When you do, you're not part of the club. Why do you want to be a part of that club? A criminal club. I don't. So I do advocate snitching. That's what anonymous tip lines is for. To be able to snitch, or you want to call it snitch. You don't want to call it snitch. Be able to tell the truth. Be able to tell the truth and be able to help a family out. It's not going to hurt you. You're anonymous. And you're anonymous, and you can watch. Just make sure it's a hurting family. Daniel's mother is hurting. His siblings are hurting. My entire family. I'm hurting. So. Just the sheer fact that you can help another family If it was your own, you would love the same thing. You help another family get some closure, some form of closure. I am very crushed to even have an idea that something had happened to my son, my beautiful son. He's a very, very bright person. You guys got to know him. You would definitely love Daniel. At the same time, regardless of the fact, if you know something, we need a closure. We just need a closure. So if you're willing to give us something, something, you heard something, and you want to say something, utilize that tip line. Again, you can call the number that you see on the bottom of the screen there. That's live operated 24 hours, 7 days a week. They'll take your call. You can stay anonymous in light. They allow you to do that. But if you don't want to hear a voice to anyone and you want to just leave a tip anonymously, you also can do it through the anonymous tip line by texting the word tip to that line from your cell phone. Text the word tip to that number, and the form will come up. You still can stay anonymous. And if you don't feel even comfortable there, you can also use a burner phone as you leaving that anonymous tip line. Well, then make yourself feel covered. Whatever the case may be, we just need those answers. We need those clues. We need to know what's going on. If you know anything about my son, please show your humanity, because I know you have it, and bring closure to what happened and for my family. So if you don't want to talk to anybody out but me, that's the number there, 803-200-7994. It's my cell phone. I have it here on the side of me. Of course, I keep the ringer down because it rings all day. If I miss your call, I apologize, but I will call back. If I miss your text message, it'll take me sometimes to get down to it, a lot of times, because I have an influx of them. But I will, as people will tell you, I will answer those text messages. I do every time. I remember when I first was looking for my son, I used to get a whole lot of emails as well. And every night, that's the last thing I did every day, is to make sure I say something and say thank you to all the people like yourself who have been supporting me in my efforts to find my son out there in the desert, to you name it. And, I made it a point. I didn't get no sleep. That was the last thing I'd done before I even tried to get sleep. I was sleeping like an hour, if I was lucky, back when I first started searching for my son. But like I said, I would, sleepy or not, I would make sure the last thing I did is to engage with you guys when you send text messages and emails and things like that. So I continually to try to do so. So I will get to it, but you can utilize that. Also, you go to pleasehelpfinddaniel.com, and if you want to help or you want to volunteer for something, I am currently, as you know, my specialized operation searches, desert searches, is all on pause for right now. Because of a lot of reasons. So it'll be paused for further notice. I just want to thank you guys for who have come out. I say it often through the safety briefing. But there's some, sometimes people out there still are helping, family. I can tell you all this, and I know the volunteers who came out to the searches know my heart, and they know I really appreciate them. I wish I could do everything in the world for them to show them. And the only thing I had at the time when they come out to searches is just to tell you thank you. Just thank you, look in your eyes, thank you, give you a hug, and just tell you thank you. Because I tell them often, hey, people don't have to come out there to the searches. They don't have to spend their gas money. They don't have to spend their Saturdays, their time, their weekday, whatever the case may be, to be out there looking for a son, a person that they'd never met. But they did so. But I'm really grateful for those folks who came out. I don't care if you came out for one day. You're part of that family. My team out there who came to help keep the organization going, keep my searches going. I really appreciate all of them, everybody. So just because the searches went on pause, just make sure that people don't have any idea that I somehow walked away from them and the idea of them. It constant in my mind. However, at the same time, because of the searches are on pause, I have to still keep my efforts going. I still have to go out there time to time in the desert alone. Well, people know, the ones that's closer to me know how things work with that. But then I have to also make sure I put all my efforts into areas that really need it. And the reason why I had to make a choice is out of the searches or is out of some of these other things. And I chose the searches because of the funding. But one of the biggest things, the reason why I did it is because I wanted to make sure any funding that come in from future points would go towards what's happening behind me in that picture, and that's to get the forensic work done on the scene. It can't be done on that exact scene, but everything that was at that scene had to be tested, and some forensics had to be done on it. It wasn't done by law enforcement, so I had to do it myself. My son is very important. He's my son. I had to make sure those things. So I had to put those pauses on there, and it was a hard choice for me because there's definitely areas out there that need to be searched. That search for Daniel out there in the desert is not over. You know, that's area that had to be searched, and I had to cover those things. But like I said, I had to make a hard choice. Very hard choice. I didn't get any sleep by my choices. It took me a while to get over my final choice that I made. I feel like I abandoned something. I had to go through all these emotional, things because of my decision to pause. But it was well needed. My decision wasn't based just on my need to search for my son, but it also was the needs for the volunteers who come out there to help me. Because you guys are family. I'm not willing to risk anybody who come out and help in the searches and things like that. You all, like I say, are family, and mean a lot to me. Really, really do. We have gotten really close. A lot of us out there in the desert. I miss everybody who come out to the searches, and but we became close under bad circumstances. But they're very good people. Really did enjoy communicating with them and things like that. So learned a lot together. It was a grassroots search. It's a grassroots search, so we learned a lot together, and unfortunately gained a lot of skills based on our efforts. So miss everybody who came out and aid and help. But thank you so much again. Like I said, I had to not cancel, but pause the searches for now until they pick up again, and so I can concentrate my efforts on areas of forensics and awareness and things like that. Make sure I'm still in Arizona. Make sure I'm still able to stay in Arizona. As you guys know, I did get a small 1-bedroom apartment, and I had to make sure I still I had to keep my boots on the ground. Somebody had to stand in the gap for my son. Unfortunately, a lot of family can't, but I'm here in Arizona. My presence is in Arizona. So, you guys, I had to fight for my son. That's what fathers do. We're leaders. Saying despite of how the world changed, my ideas about life haven't changed. And one of those things is men, we are leaders. We're providers for our family. We protect our families mentally, emotionally, in every aspect that we can. We're not perfect. I know I'm not perfect. I grew up in a single parent home. And that's I'm sure it's nobody's business, but I can say that. And one of the biggest part is learning that is that when there's regardless if you're the two people you develop a child, both parents should be present in the child's life regardless. Children don't have anything to do with the parents other than they're your parents. But the parents should be there regardless. And I've been there for my son from his birth, all my children from their birth, and I'm continuing to be so regardless they're older or not. And one of my goals is my jobs, like I said, is to find my son. One of my jobs is to make sure he's okay, make sure that his integrity is intact, because he's a scientist. Nobody's going to try to make him out of anything. It's not like what I felt the Buckeye Police Department did when they see that I was publicly telling the truth about their non-actions, about their slowness and movement when my son first went missing, just things like that. Instead of straightening up, they decided when a reporter came to me with the report in her hand, and she said, "Hey, I just left the Buckeye Police Department," and she started asking me about the young lady, and she had the report in her hand, and it was highlighted in that little section. I said, "Oh, you highlight?" She said, "No, that's how they gave it to me. They highlighted it themselves, whoever gave it to her at that apartment, just for them to put that out into the media." And I saw it as a character assassination at the time. And I said, you know what? That's all just this whole thing about that is just a distraction, and it's one-sided, and it's hearsay, because a lot of things was erased out of my son's phone, period. All that kind of stuff. That is just a distraction. It's a character assassination from a guy. My son is brilliant. When I say he's brilliant, he graduated with honors. He's a scientist. How many people can say they're a scientist? A scientist, he knows what he's doing. He loves his job. He chose a city, a state that supports what he loves. He loves rocks for whatever reason. He got a rock collection in his living room, that type deal. So, he's a geologist. He's really loving his job. You guys can see those pictures, even the little small picture in this background here when he's sitting up on that. He loved nature. He loved that kind of stuff. And he's brilliant guy. Like his mind is sharp. Like I said, his goal is to be a millionaire before he turned 30. My son wants to travel abroad. He wants to learn about other people's cultures and things like that. Very friendly, oriented. He have tons of friends. He's a founder of a fraternity, his school, college. So, I mean, it is a lot about Daniel. He's not a stalker. He's not a person who's going to be in love with some woman he don't know. He can like a woman. How many people you went into when I was a young man? Of course, I seen a lady I like, and man, we hook up. Things can happen as a young person, and of course, you can have a like for the person. He's a heterosexual man, and so of course he's supposed to like women. That's what he does. So sometimes they'll put in a way to try to make it a crime for him to like women or something, that type deal. So he's a young man. He's only 24 at the time. He was missing, 25 now. He's starting his life off, his career, going very well for himself, take care of himself for almost 3 years before he went missing. He didn't ask me. He went to Instacart because he didn't want to come to me and ask me for money. I'm sure when he felt like maybe he would end up into some financial hardship when the company took their time to reimburse him for expenditures that he had to use out there in the desert. And these places had to go spend the night. So he called me many nights out there in some other city in Arizona where he had do a work site at night sometimes. And he only get to go home the next day or a day after that or something, that type deal. So he had to spend a lot of money out to get a expense report that he's supposed to turn in. Like I said, the company is very slow at giving the money back. So he's being responsible. Started Instacart to make sure he's not late on the bill. Before he got this brand new vehicle of his that he loved very much, and the cleaning supply is still in there. He was riding an older vehicle. He got himself a little cheap little vehicle, and he utilized those tools that I taught him and his brother and the sisters when they're young, how to fix a vehicle, how to take care of that vehicle if something go wrong with it. So he was doing that, fix and repair that vehicle almost every day, just to make sure he made it work on time, make sure he was responsible. And like I said, he been taking care of himself. He wasn't living with friends and things like that. He living alone, living with himself, So if you got to know Daniel, his personality, you will see what I'm talking about. Very friendly guy, very loving guy, and very fun to be hanging around with. So to even imagine that someone can look at my son and do any harm to him is very stunning to me. It's very stunning to a lot of family members that I talk to and people out there who just know Daniel. It's very stunning. But anyway, I want to tell you all, thank you again for being here. Thank you, Shauna, for being here this morning, part of the A team and also part of the board. I really appreciate you being here this morning. Also, you too, Bear, same likewise, being part of everything to help in the background, part of the team, part of the board. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming out to Q&A to help me. And also, you guys keep me straight because, I would try to overdo myself, and you guys have been very instrumental to making sure I slow down sometimes. I mean, it's hard to slow down when you have a missing son, but, at the same time, you do have to take care of yourself. And I really thank you all for pushing that effort, pushing that on me. Sassy, thanks for being here this morning. Ashes to Ashes, thank you all. So if you guys have questions, please put the word question there for your question. Also, the capital letter Q and, some question marks or something that can help me as I'm coming down the comment section. Thank you, Tanya Beth, also for being here this morning. Please like and share and subscribe to this channel because you know what? That does by itself. So you guys say you want other ways you can help. One of those ways you can by sharing this YouTube channel, sharing Dane's stories, sharing these flyers. You can, that type of stuff. So please, by all means, try if you can. So I really appreciate you can. If you can, support me and help me get Daniel's name out there, Father. I am Daniel's media coverage and things like that. You guys are too. You guys are the catalyst that takes it farther out there somewhere. So you guys can please share, like, and subscribe this YouTube channel, your social media, whatever the case may be. make sure the stories stay out there because a lot of stories get lost and get buried. So, and I refuse to let that happen. Like I said, when it's out there like that, there comes a lot of other things that will help me find my son. So, all right. Thank you, Sheroes Nation, for being here. I really appreciate it. Good morning to you, family. I really appreciate that you're here often. Thank God for you. Also, welcome to another Q&A where you can get your questions answered, get those questions rolling. Realize I need those questions. When asking your questions, start with the capital letter Q or the capital letter question, the word question, or question mark, so I can see it as I'm coming down the comment section. So that helps me out a lot. Also, thank you, Jazz, Jazz, for being here this morning, Shrinking Sharon. Thanks, Sophia, also being part of the board and A-Team. I'm really grateful for you being here this morning to help out in the chats. Also, all of y'all being the moderator, or the whole team being the moderator to help me in the comment section. Also, thank you, Denise Cranford. Thank you so much for being here this morning from Facebook. I really appreciate that you take your time out just to be here in the morning. Like I said, guys are like in the searches. Nobody had to be here, but you guys have decided to be here in support. Thank you also, Mr. Larnell, my friend. Thank you so much for being part of the board. Also, A-Team, I really appreciate it. You coming out this morning to support and help and keeping things going. So in the background, like I said, always being there for me from day one. I really appreciate you, sir. All right. Barry, thank you so much again. Question mark. You do have a question. Okay, that's your question. Buckeye Police Department says they conducted multi-agency search. Which agencies are they referring to? If you all can find that answer for me, I will invite it. I've been searching. No agency outside of Buckeye ever contacted me or my family. So when they say they work with other agencies, I don't know what agency they're talking about. Maybe they're talking about some law agencies or something. I don't know, a lawyer firm or something. I don't know. But other than that, there's no agencies I'm aware of that the department ever worked with. I think that when they say agency, maybe they're talking about Civil Air Patrol. They worked with Civil Air Patrol to do a search almost 2 weeks later after my son, after the first search when my son went missing. So if they call that an agency, maybe that's what they're talking about. Oh, yeah, we work with the Civil Air Patrol. We work with that agency, that type deal. What I learned is when I read that report, and that's what made me stop reading because a lot of inconsistent lies about what I said and my daughter said. Things like that is offensive. But one thing I do notice that this department does, they play these word games. If you can say, oh, yeah, I work with agencies, but the agencies, you don't go dig into it. And the agencies, like I said, could be Civil Air Patrol. They're not lying. They did work with some agencies to help them go search, you know what I'm saying? But they play the word games. So average reader, like the news media, who always suck up to law enforcement without real questioning, a lot of them. I ain't gonna say everyone because there's a lot of journalists out there that really dig deep. But what I'm saying is they'll put it out there. Oh, they say they were with outside agencies, outside of the department agencies. Oh, they did, but it would happen to be Civil Air Patrol who's helped them conduct a search or something. Yeah, that's an agency. And, they'll play that word game. So you guys in your brain say, oh, man, they was working with the FBI and they're working with this. You start making assumptions what these agencies are. They have no proof or anything else that they even put in their report. That's why, they'll say the word agency, but they never would put a specific name of a department because there is none. There is none. So, no. The question is, question, Buckeye Police says they conducted multi-agency searches. Search and multi-agency, maybe like I said, they're talking about Civil Air Patrol, and there wasn't multiple because one person I've been to their searches, and they only had one, and that was Civil Air Patrol. They also worked with the Maricopa County Posse guys came out recently this year when I asked them to do the search a well. They came out to my search under my request to Chief Hall empty-handed. They came out during the weekday. I had one of my board members, team members go out there with me on a weekday with Buckeye. And on that weekday, we went out there to search this one well because they didn't do the well that Daniel was missing, but they did one north. Like I told you guys, and I know my team going to keep saying it, it's true. I've been looking for this picture, and I will have it out there, but they had a cute little white dog, which they call a cadaver dog. and they had this these guys come in from, like I said, the Maricopa County posse group or whatever they are, with some kind of makeshift camera thing they created to try to look down into the well, which they was pissed and angry because when it got to the water level, the camera barely touched the water and it got the camera wet. That type deal. So, they call that an agency. Some volunteer group guys is an agency to them for the Maricopa Posse thing or whatever they call it. They're not official guys. They just some bunch of guys got together and almost deputized, but they're not. They just kind of do nice things for people, and they call them an agency, I guess. So, like I said, those are word games. So if you guys see those things on there, those are word games, and they play a lot of them. They play a lot of them, but I call them out. I call those word games out. And we're not, because I'm not going to let somebody word game me. I don't like to be handled. If one thing I tell you about, especially somebody try to handle me, I don't like to be handled. Meaning that when I say that, for them to put, like somehow, it's like they calling you stupid or something, and I'm sure they call a lot of people stupid by putting word games in there. So they think they're just getting away with doing nothing, that type deal. So, and you put any kind of words you want, and I'm gonna keep pressing it over and over again. Your actions speak louder than words. It speak louder than anything. So guys, what you write, when y'all looking at a report, y'all read a report, say, okay, I read this, but where's the action behind it? Where's the name? What's the detail? I'm a detailed person. You say you got outside multi-agencies. Who are those multi-agencies? Write those names down so we can go verify that with those agencies if they indeed come out, that type deal. All right. Question from Denise. Thank you so much for coming out from Facebook. Why would he look into Daniel's eyes? I do not know. This guy, he amazes me. His story consists of him being a doctor to be able to tell us about his eyes dilated in broad daylight with sunlight. He had no, unless he had my son stay there and he had a little flashlight and look in his eye to see if his eyes, he's a black man. Daniel's a black man. I'm not saying it in kind of funny way, but he's a black man. Of course, we have dark brown eyes. Majority of black folks, right? And so for you to see a pupil in the daylight with dark black brown eyes, it would appear to be black. There's no such thing as black eyes, but it's dark brown, right? And you telling me you can tell if eyes are dilated or not from a black man without using a flashlight looking into his eyes. He don't have hazel eyes. He don't have light blue eyes. He don't have light green eyes. Something you can see his pupils if they're dilated or not. So that's BS. This is the kind of stuff that if I was an investigator, those are the kind of questions when somebody start talking at their mouth, stupid stuff to me, I'll be looking at that kind of stuff as sideways. Hey, you starting to make yourself a little suspect to me. Say, how are you able to look in the broad daylight in somebody's eyes and tell if they are dilated or not? Those are kind of things that comes in my brain. Maybe, these guys, I don't know what their education level is when it comes to the department, but you know what? I know God gave us one thing, and that's common sense. You're a detective. God gave everybody common sense when you use it. We all have that. So the thing is, it's not common sense to me and him to do that. So while he's looking into my son's eye for whatever reason, that's none of his business. He just met my son according to him, and he also talked to him for roughly 10 minutes. So all this happened in 10 minutes. He was able to look at my son's eyes. He was able to observe him. He even said that he observed my son's shoes untied, his boots. One of his boots was untied. He observed, what are you observing them for? That type deal. He came up with those things. First, he was saying, he told the officers, you look at the report, he said that my son said he wanted to go home and get some rest or whatever, right? But then when you listen to him on this little Paramount thing that just came out, he said that he said my son he said that my son asked him, did he want to go home and rest? So it's two different things. So I'm like, did my son say he wanted to rest, or he said asking you, do you want to go home and rest? But according to the Paramount thing, he changed that up too. So I'm really glad he did that interview, because we started looking at some of the things he's saying, and I'm really dissecting that interview that he had gotten. So you guys need to go to the Paramount thing. I have filmed that. I didn't know he was doing the interview. That's a weird part to that piece. I was working with Paramount Films to get Daniel's story out there last year, late last year. And you guys, it's out now. So you go to Paramount Plus, and I guess you have to, like I have had to subscribe to it. And you watch that piece, and you can see Kenneth on there. I can say his name now. He put his name out there in public. You can watch Kenneth do his interview with those guys if y'all want to watch that and hear him and watch his demeanor and watch his face expression, watch certain things like that, what I'm doing, and to make sure his story. Because I don't believe, I'm not calling a man a liar, but I don't believe I guess some people say when I say it like this, I'm calling him a liar, but I don't believe it. I have a right to say that. I don't believe the story. It don't make sense to me when I go drive up to it. I don't care what these people say outside, and they say, hey, rain would do this and that, blah, 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 wash tracks away. And I can see highlighted trail. I even had one of the guys in my search group going out there saying, oh, yeah, if it rained, I can see tracks. I mean, that's what you think you can see. But the reality is how much rain was out there that day. He wasn't out there. I wasn't out there. I can go by what the rancher told us. He lives out there. He's out there with his rain. It was not significant. I can go by the weather report. It was a low chance of rain. I think it was around 5%, if that. They go back and look at that day and look at the weather report. It wasn't no significant rain at all, first of all. The second, but that's the reason why he said out his own mouth, he can I'm sure it's only one cloud. That one cloud, which is a cell, is going to pass right on over us. It came over us a little bit and it's going to keep going. You can actually watch a cell pass by. So he was accurate with that part of saying that. So again, while he was looking at Daniel's eyes, I do not know. And that's the extra information that he was giving the law enforcement that would make me question. And like I said, this whole narrative about my son's disappearance come from that one guy, Kenneth, what happened at this well site, supposedly, and what he said and all this kind of stuff. And then not only that, he's the last person that has to see my son. And to this date, far as I know, he'd never been in an interrogation room. He never even repeated on the thing. The police they just asked the question. He gave him his story. They didn't question him about why he knows about his eyes. None of that kind of stuff, how he can really follow his tracks, how he can even see it. Whatever the case may be, they just wrote in their report, just like they did when they went to that girl and she uploaded her own text messages in the phone, and some of it's missing timestamp, like somebody can actually type in what they want and say, that's what Daniel said, and this was said to me, and they put it out there as my son's character, that type deal. So, that's what they do. It's called lazy police work. They don't give a damn, in my opinion. And and that's why things went the way it is now. That's why it's going on 11 months to a year that my son is missing. So, so those are they're doing, and they're the ones that have to be accountable for that kind of stuff. Kimberly, thank you so much for being here this morning. I really appreciate it. I do have a question here from Tanya. Thank you again. Question is, does the rancher have connections to Buckeye? There's some things about that I do know. At this moment, I'm just going to leave that part alone. But he may. He live in Buckeye, so we will see. But thanks so much for your question. I really appreciate that. All right, Barry B. Thank you so much for your question. Thank you, Barry. I'm reading you like someone else. The last question kind of, I'll try to find ways to be able to answer that question, Tanya. But yeah, there's some things that's going on right now that I really just had to skip over that one. I apologize. But yes. All right. Barry, thank you so much. Buckeye PD says they extracted data from Daniel's recovered cell phone. What data was extracted? They say they did. But you know what the funny part about that? If they did, they would have put in a report that if they extracted it, is that saying that they the one that wiped Daniel's phone? Because when they gave it to me, it was missing a lot of things. First of all, the detective on a recorded phone call, told me that they cloned Daniel's phone. That's against the law. That's violate his civil rights, and nobody asked them to do that. The second part is when they gave me the phone, it's missing his memory card. Missing memory card. Why? I asked him about it. Like I said, he said, well, nobody else had access to the phone but him. When he said, this is what he told me on the recorded call, when I took it from the scene, I had put it in my pocket, and I had it since nobody had access to it. That was a thing to me. Why are you going to take something off the scene and put it in your pocket? The other part is that he said from the extraction part, I'm not aware of any data being extracted. Only got something from my former investigator who went out in public saying that, oh, he got deleted text messages from Daniel's phone. And for him to say that, I was really disappointed for him going out to say something like that because it's untrue. For him to say that the phone itself, and he didn't do any forensic work, as far as my knowledge, to Daniel's phone. If he did, I paid this man for that kind of knowledge, and I have yet to get any kind of information from him that suggests that he even did any kind of forensic work on my son's things outside of Buckeye. So the biggest thing is as in distractions from data and things like that off their phone. Nobody made that kind of thing apparent to me or bring awareness to me about anything being distracted from Dane's phone, other than what I know I have the phone and everything is deleted. If it's something being distracted they would have put it in a report that something was found in the phone. And also, like I said, for my former investigator, that phone itself, without forensic work that's been done on it, that phone itself deletes messages after 30 days. My investigator, he didn't even see that phone to well over 30 days. And like I said, unless he did had it sent to a lab without telling me about it, and I paid him for that for his services. No, there was never any instruction from his part. And then as in from the Buckeye Police Department, when they gave me those things, they didn't put anything in the report saying that they did any type of forensic work on any items. They in fact told me in the recorded meeting that they didn't do any forensic work. So that type of deal. So, only way that can be extracted, information can be extracted from forensic work. So some people can make up things. They can try to make up things. But like I said, the only thing that's going to tell the whole full story is when I get the forensic work done on all these materials and when they get completed. And that would tell the full story, no matter what the Buckeye Police Department put in a report or what they say versus anybody else. Those things would tell on itself. So just waiting on those results and things like that, and make sure I'm able to get the funding to continue to do what I'm doing when it comes to forensic work. So no data, as far as I know, was it's funny because they had data, and then you got to ask yourself a question. They said they extracted something from Danny's cell phone. All right, let's say they let that girl put her own. She wrote her own thing up there. Let's say we got a thing related to that. They let her put her own information, her own text messages up there, right? If they extracted his text messages right on his side, why didn't they put that in the report? They call it supplementary. It's funny, they supplement everything else when I'm talking on this because Detective told me he watched my Q&As. Thank you for being here, Detective Biff, and I really appreciate you being here this morning. And as a silent person on the chats, thank you so much for being here this morning. But he told me they watched the Q&A. He watched the Q&A. He's a supporter of my Q&A, the department. And I noticed there's a lot of things I say in public. They kind of changed that the report reflects that kind of stuff. So, so I'm sure they're out there right now scrambling, and they do everything they can to make themselves look good. But you can't erase what's already been done, what's already been written, things like that. So thanks so much. All right. Thank you, Todd Abrams, for being here this morning. I really thank you for coming out to the Facebook, through Facebook. Thank you, Sheroes Nation. And I do have a question for Sheroes Nation. I really appreciate it. Does Matrix New World have safety protocols for their employees in remote locations? I believe they do now. That's one of the things my auntie, the same auntie that talked to the Buckeye Police Department who claimed they did this Phoenix Firebird flight that day. Same auntie brought her concerns about that, just that from a family standpoint, brought her concerns about that because, one of the things about Daniel, when he told me, like I said, he put a lot of costs out there, and they often out there. I talked to one of the gentlemen who came out to do the well for me, to search a well. He said no, they don't go out to remote. Sometimes he do, but they don't go out to remote areas by themselves. And plus two, they have certain safety mechanisms. They don't provide their field geologists with cell phones or some kind of device that can track them. They don't provide them with their own company vehicles and things like that. So these people go out there on their own. They give them an assignment, they give them a tablet, whatever, a map, and tell them to go for it, basically, the way Daniel described it to me. So no, there was never any safety mechanism other than, as in check-ins. There were no check-ins. According to Daniel, he'll check in and get them water give them, when I say check-in, he goes to give them reports about the water levels or something like that. You know, he does that, I think, once every 3 hours or something, to say what the water levels are or something like that, 3 or 4 hours, you know, something like that. But other than that, no, I don't know any safety mechanism. Hey, did you actually made it to the site? That type deal, blah blah blah, or is that you? You know, whatever the case may be. I have not known any of that. But anyway, how is it assumed they are not liable when Daniel's disappearance is based on one man's account? You know, and one of the biggest things is I did talk to the owners. I did talk to Dane's boss, and one of the things I did concern is the fact that my son was on the job. You know, and I did express that to them. You know, look, I was disappointed. I told them how disappointed I am when this is a company. This is a company who obviously making money, doing very well for themselves. And you have an employee that's missing. And I drove all the way from South Carolina not to even see any efforts from the job to go search for my son, other than one of the workers, his friend from the job, going to my daughter's house to alert her that you guys was curious about where Daniel's location is, you know, and they didn't put it as he was missing. They put it as like he just left the job, and his friend who's concerned about him came to her house to see if he was there. It almost like appears like they say, hey man, we had a job to do and you just abandoned the job, and we need somebody at the job. You need to be there to complete your task or something. I'm not saying that's when they mind, but it says, I was almost to that point. And my daughter, we know on Daniel, he's a very responsible young man. Like I told you, to her, that was very out of character, and that was concerning to her. So of course, who they're gonna come to is their dad. I don't know if she called her mother or not. I don't know, but I know she called me and wanted advice on that, what to do next, that type deal. Because she's very concerned about her brother. She's a big sister, and of course, she's gonna care about her little brother. So that was a thing. But anyway, the other part of that is he was at work, and that's again, you're right. He was at the job, and to me, I feel like I told them, your employee go missing is my company. The first thing I would do, I know I'm going to alert the family. Hey, we're looking for whoever, blah blah blah. But I guess at the meantime, the most pressing thing for me would have been doing everything from calling law enforcement myself to going out there to start doing. And I shouldn't have had to, in other words, I shouldn't have had to start a search. I had to coordinate search, you know, saying start a search just to get some of the workers. Like I said, I don't know if that was a company mandate, but it almost appeared to be a couple of workers from his job saying they want to come out to my searches, and help. So it wasn't as in a company mandate. I don't know, but it wasn't nothing funded by them is what I'm saying. They didn't come out and fund the drones that I need, or the quads or the razors, and you know, make sure we had a command center that's very viable for the volunteers that we do need now. That's some of the reasons why I was on Paul, have a command center and proper people who able to you know, do certain little things. But so they didn't do all of that. So yeah, so that's some of the things I did talk to them about. Very disappointed, just to say the least. I was really blown away that if it's the way I expressing them is my employee, you know what I'm saying, I will be out there making sure my valuable employee is found. So that's one thing. Thank you, LL, for being here. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for being out here. Also, Harmon, thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Brooklyn Squad for being here this morning. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for you guys coming out. Also, if you guys have questions, again, please put the capital letter Q or any kind of indication to help me. Capital letter Q, big question marks, or the word question in all caps. You know, let me know before your question. Let me know that you have a question. As I'm coming down the comment section, I can find it. I do have Maltese. Thank you so much for being here this morning. Again, Shearers Nation, thank you for being here. But I do have a question here from LL. Thanks so much again for being part of this Q&A, and thank you, LL, for constantly coming out to the Q&As. I really appreciate it, your time. Question is, David, have you taken a Geiger counter to Daniel's clothing and Jeep checking for radiation? You need to. Well, you know what? no, I don't have any reasons why I feel like I should be doing that. I know there's a nuclear plant that's, a really good distance away from that area, south of the area where Daniel went missing. So I don't know. I don't know why would I need to do that. If there's information that you know about that area, about radiation and things like that, feel free to share that, because I haven't to this date heard anything about anything like that, or anything suggested that the area is contaminated with radiation, or why it should be contaminated with radiation, and why law enforcement, they out there themselves and there's nobody with radiation signs or anything else out there. There is a power plant, just like you said. When I say power plant, it's a power grid. I probably shouldn't call it a plant, but a power grid out there in the area where my son went missing. The power lines from that do go down to the nuclear plant direction. That's where electricity is created. But those are power grids, not power plant, where they actually using some type of nuclear type junk to produce energy. So, so I don't see the reason why I would be getting a Geiger counter to check for radiation and things like that. So, but anyway, if you, like I said, LL, if you know information why I should, then yes, I definitely would be looking into that. And also I'll be looking into other things, so thanks so much. All right. Anybody else have any questions, please, by all means, feel free to ask those questions. I definitely here to answer those questions. I do see your comment that you need to have a way to contact me. That's right here on the bottom. Brooklyn Squad, Real Life Drama. I really, if you want to, this number right here, scroll on the bottom. For anybody, any one of y'all, anybody who need to contact me, you can utilize that number. It's a public cell phone number. Again, if I don't get to answer your call directly, I do have the volume down. That phone rings all day, every day, and even at night. Especially the time changes, where it's east to west, or whatever. People have different time zone, and they'll be utilizing that phone because it's a public cell phone of mine that I use. It used to be, of course, my personal phone, but I decided to use it for my son's efforts, and also, for you guys to contact me. Now, I can't tell you, just because if I miss your call, I do check the voicemail. I will call back. And also, if you decide to text, sometimes it takes me a little bit to get to it, but I do answer those text messages. People will tell you I answer all my text messages. It may take time. I have some people text messages end up get an influx on them, and they get pushed down a little bit, and then I guess come back up a little bit, and then I get pushed down. Sometimes it takes a while. It takes a couple days sometimes. Sometimes you get lucky, and I just happen to pick the phone up, and the phone ring, and answer it, or I look at text message immediately. So thank you so much for contacting me, Brooklyn Squad, Real Life Drama. Thanks so much for contacting. So yes, I'll be looking out for. Just make sure, if you can you please say, hey, this is who I am, so I can know who you are, and I can remember this right here. So thanks so much again. All right. I'll see if I have any more questions here. I think I do. If that's you, Barry, that's another question. Thanks so much, Barry, and I really appreciate you. You know how much I appreciate you, so thank you. Buckeye says they briefed the FBI. What reason did they provide? What reason did they provide for briefing the FBI if they did not suspect foul play? And that's the thing. I think it's, to me, to be honest with you, this is my opinion. This is my opinion, because you really look at the whole thing. I'm crying and pleading. And the crazy part about it, I really found out this vehicle was found on BLM land. That's Bureau of Land Management, and that's federal land. So the vehicle's there on federal land, right? But before I even know this information, I was really looking at the geolocations of this vehicle. And I'm saying BLM, the way I found this kind of crazy. I had one of my team members, when they reached out to them, they sent them a map. The coordinates wasn't correct. Sent out a map. And when they did that, they highlighted the area where their land ends and things like that. That put my son's vehicle on their land, right? So that's federal land. But anyway, the whole thing is when it comes to them briefing the FBI, that briefing came on a letter that I sent to the Buckeye Police Department, Chief Hall. And you guys can imagine, every time I send him a letter, to ask them to come out to my searches, to do a certain thing. I always CC many officials. I mean, many people. And the reason why I do, because I don't want him to ever say he didn't receive the email and the letter. I do it both, email and letter, PDF. And I want him to say that he didn't receive it. And then I want to make sure that not only that, but I want those officials also to be aware of what I'm asking, right? And so that put them on the spot. I also try to get the media involved. So that put them on the spot to do things that I asked them to do. They have to do it. Like I said, they come empty handed and things like that, but he got to do something. So I asked for this briefing, and this briefing was based on, for me, the fact that my son went missing on the crime scene. We found human skull near this area where they claim they searched really hard with cadaver dogs and everything else they said they had. We found other human remains. We found clothing in the same manner. My son's clothing found out there in the pile, somebody else's clothing. Just you name it. It's a crime scene. The area's a crime scene. I made the letter apparent that, hey, my son went missing the crime scene. And with everything that's going on in the scene, to me, and with the suspicious nature that I use in that letter to his interview that he did with CNN, when Chief Hall, said it's highly suspicious and highly, those things that he said in that, I put it in that letter also about his idea about the scene, and but they were refusing to call it a possible crime, right? They said no criminal, no foul play suspected. They don't even suspect the foul play. No, they put in their report, but verbally he said something different on CNN. So I definitely put that into the letter. And then with that letter, with all those people CC'd on that letter, he came back with a letter saying, hey, yes, he tried to make it like he already thought of, hey, I was already planning basically to, brief the FBI for a case briefing, call them in for a case briefing. Case briefing means that they have the FBI to look at what they did in this case, a briefing, and see if the FBI need to come in to my son's case, right? Again, like I told you before, immediately when he sent me the response, my attorney, she crafted a letter asking them to be a part, and if they don't want her to be a part, because sometimes they get squeamish about attorneys being involved, being present, Mr. Robinson need to be present. This is my son, his son's case, blah, 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 so on, so on. I never got a response from that department. Never got a response back. I was getting a little antsy about it. My attorney said, hey, give him a little time to respond. I waited till the end of the week. It was a whole week almost. And I was a little squirming getting over the weekend. And then that Monday came, I got a call from the detective telling me they did this case briefing behind my back. They did it without me. And in this case briefing, he told me that the FBI said that you, Mr. Robinson, are doing such a great job on your own. They don't need to come in based on what they've seen from this case briefing that they presented to the FBI. And I can only assume in my mind to this date, I'm going to assume that in that case briefing, which I'm going to find out through Freedom of Information Act, that this case briefing involved them saying, because when I talked to the FBI agent, or I finally found out who he is, he said they were doing such a great job. I seen what they did, and I'm assuming, and this is what I really know, I really assume that this case briefings involve all the things that I have done since I've been here in Arizona in efforts to find my son. Just like they took credit, tried to take credit for the human remains that was found out there. And I was lucky that one of the volunteers called it on the Maricopa County's information when it involves DOAs and things like that, what would you call it, John Doe's and things like that, site where those remains were sent out to the pathologist and all that. They had it where they say they found those remains doing searches, and it wasn't them. So I had them to correct that. They apologized. They corrected to reflect that it came from my searches. But I can suspect that this case briefing that was done reflects in a manner they presented in a manner to make it appear they did so much and they didn't do things just like they doing with the public. That same kind of thing. So in order for FBI, which I really don't believe they said that, to say that I'm doing such a great job, I guess with no technologies, no getting funding from GoFundMe to you name it, I'm doing better than the FBI itself, something else the government itself runs. I'm doing better than these guys who's trained to find information out. So I don't believe the FBI say that, but that's what was told to me. So the thing is, To answer your question, Barry, Buckeye Police say they briefed the FBI. They say they did, and according to this agent, they did. They briefed them. What reasons did they provide for the briefing? I don't know what those reasonings are. And like you said, they double talk. They double tongue. This is a double tongue department. They verbally told my investigator, my investigator, he publicly put that out. So those things cannot ever be erased. He publicly testified that they personally, verbally told him they wasn't doing an investigation when he came to get that black box data from them. And also they told me personally that they have any more leads to follow and that this case was done. They was done. They gave me a partial report that day. Chief Hall said he's going to give me the partial report that day, which they did when they gave me all my son's things, belongings, Martin's in the evidence bag marked for safekeeping, and also that the detective was going to finalize the report. And when he's finished, he's going to give me a copy. And I have this unredacted copy to this day. I mean, that you can see, you take those two and you put those together, what they got today. They changed paragraphs. They changed certain things to fit this narrative like they did a whole lot of work. So I suspect the same department where the Chief Hall got suspended before for falsifying documents are definitely doing the same thing when they present this stuff to the FBI. Those things will come out. You can see those things. What reason did they provide things? And they don't have a criminal case. And you don't say it's double tongue. Hey, we don't suspect foul play. They said the other day. You see this report, not a report, but the interview from the local news channel just a few days ago. They talked to Buckeye and they said they still don't suspect foul play. But at the same time, if you suspect the foul play, well, like you said, why are you doing case briefings for them to no? So you don't suspect it. So they do a whole bunch of double talk. So that's all that is, Barry. Is a lot of double talk from that department. They'll say one thing and do another. Just like they said, your son didn't sustain any injury. We didn't see the blood in the car. He had no injuries. But at the same time, same breath, but he had a severe head injury. I mean, that is an injury. So, it's double talk. They do a lot of double talk that don't make sense. All right, Esther Levy, question. Do you believe the Buckeye police need to be investigated? Yes, I do. They had to do it before. The city had to do it before. Yes, they need to be investigated. And I feel angry, frustrated, disappointed by the way you and your family have been mistreated. Thank you so much for your care, and I really appreciate that. I admire your integrity and strength. I'm trying to do the best I can. I'm not perfect. So I'm not perfect by any stretch. I'm just a man looking for my son. I'm doing the best I can as a father. And if I don't see, I feel like I'm not getting my son is not getting the treatment that he deserved. He's not getting the justice. It pains me to have to talk about this department so much. I really do. I sit here and I think all the time, like, what kind of ways I can get around. Always have to mention Buckeye, their lack of work and things like that. I just can't, because when it continue to go on and I continue to really start understanding more, I'm digging into my son's case and some information I do know about a lot of those folks out there in that department. When I start digging into certain things, right, then I just can't stop saying what I have to tell the truth, and it started being more apparent to me what's really going on with that department. So, that kind of stuff. So, I make sure I document everything and, cross my T's. And people ask me, hey, why it takes so long? Why investigations with some people with those departments who have all the tools and the FBI, and it take months to years for them to find out things. But I have people, even some people in my family, that talks to me as in I should be cracking the case by now. You should crack the case by now. What's taking you so long? Like, I mean, come on now, people. You got professionals that take I don't know, years to solve a case, or whatever case may be. But God's gonna do better than that. But you know what? I'm just a father doing the best I can, and there's no high expectations on my part. Just doing the best that I can, and I'm just as high expectations on myself, and I push myself to find out what happened to my son. I need to find out what happened to my son. Somebody need to produce my son. That's all I care about. Everything else, damn that department and everybody else in it, I don't care about them. All I care about is my son, and they need to find my son. That's just the bottom line. Somebody need to produce my son. That's what I'm saying. And find out what happened and give me information. So I have to do it myself, and that's what I'm out to do, and that's my main goal is that. But I do have a heart, and I do like to help other people. All right. Thank you, Shauna, for putting that up. Like, share, and subscribe to spread Daniel's story. Definitely, guys, please hit that like, share, subscribe button. I really need you guys to be a part of this movement to find my son. There's a lot of families out here, I'm sure, doing the same thing I'm doing. Everything you can to find your loved one. And, but we all can't do it by ourselves without your support and the support of people who don't have a missing person, the support of people who's willing just to hear and listen and try to be a part. So thank you so much, you guys. I love each and every one of you period. You come out here and some can help in different ways. Even prayer is helping. You guys praying, they say, hey, Mr. Robinson, I'm praying for you and your family. We need the prayer. Trust me, we need the prayer. And so that's helping. So don't ever feel like you're not doing enough. I feel like I'm not doing enough as a father, but don't feel like you guys are not doing enough. Whatever you can give, whether it's prayer, whether it's your thoughts, whatever it's your actions, to come out to searches or just pass out a flyer or go to your neighbor, whisper in their ear and say, hey, have you heard the story? All that is viable to my son's case. So it's nothing too small or too large that, you guys, trust me, everything you're doing just by being here and support. When those numbers go up on that little ticker there and say people are watching and things like that, that's very encouraging to me. That's very encouraging to me. And also they do help. It helps with the algorithms, and that essentially itself is you guys doing a part, playing a part to getting Dane's story out there. So thanks so much. All right, Kimberly Nebel. Kimberly, thank you so much for being here. I definitely want to mess up your last name. Thanks so much for being here. Have you been able to send in article of clothing to forensics? Not yet. And if so, which articles? No, I haven't, not just yet. But you know what? Those things come with funding, and that's what I'm pushing for. So, but I did have one item already. I'm doing one at a time. But that comes with funding, and I'm really pushing for that. So you guys can help any kind of way. Nothing too small, not too big. I'm really grateful for any help that I can get. So thank you. All right, Kathy, thanks so much for being here. Thanks for a long-time person I've known for years. I really appreciate you being here this morning. Part of this Q&A again. Have you spoken to your lawyer about having the Buckeye Police Department investigated? No, I haven't. But they do need to be. They need to find out. Somebody need to go in, Internal Affairs or whoever, need to go and come in. And, that's some of the things. I think about those kind of things. Like I tell you guys, a lot of things are always in my mind about a lot of stuff. It's only a matter of time. But you do things systematically. I do things systematically. It's time and place for everything. It's not on everybody else's time. It's on the time where things need to be done a certain way in a certain time. So it's never on anybody else's time. And I have to make a judgment call on a lot of things. And sometimes they say, man, you should go do this now. And, I get all of that, but that's what you probably would do. I'm not saying you personally, but that's what a person probably would do in certain circumstances. But in this circumstance with my son, case and things I'm dealing with that you guys don't know that I'm really itching to talk about. It is that it's a time and place for it. I just put it that way. When you guys see it, then you'll know it. So it is a time and place for a lot of things. Something is off about them. It is a lot of things are off about the department. Just the whole double downing of what they do. They double down on things instead of making themselves better. They'll double down on what they didn't do right and don't try to fix it, but just try to cover it up, in a sense, in my opinion, by putting out things to make themselves look better. Hey, now look what I'm doing at this, to forget about what I didn't do and what I'm not doing right now to fix what I didn't do in the past. And so it's not there. It's now just to try to I guess, soften the blow, the fact that they actually haven't been doing anything substantial to help find my son. So they're not spending any money. If you guys, I guarantee you can have a expense report done on how much money they've been spending on my son's case. It'd be very minimal. All right. Shauna B, thanks so much for hitting that up. Like, share, and subscribe to spread Daniel's story. You guys, please do that. That really help. And they have another question: who looks to see if a pupil is dilated? Only person I know is a doctor. I know the police officer. He's not a police officer. I know doctors does that. The eye doctor, even a medical doctor, look to see if people's eyes dilated, and police officers. And I noticed when they do, the police officers, they normally do it with a flashlight, especially with black folks, because of our eye color. I'm telling you. So it's different looking at somebody's eyes and really being able to tell if their eyes indeed are dilated. And what reason are you looking to see if my son's eyes are dilated? You know, that is a story to put it as in my son to try to insinuate my son was on drugs or something, on something. Oh, I think he was on something. You know, it is really without any kind of. I mean, it really bothers me with that. You know, this whole narrative. This is my son who left a well site earlier, did his job, and traveled to the second well site, and there was no question that my son was acting odd and strange when they first stand on the side of that road and had a conversation before they drove into that desert. I guess my son was something going on with him. He to the point where he was able to follow this guy down into that well site. Then they spent only 10 minutes, roughly 10 minutes, according to him, of a conversation, right? But you know what? I'm telling you guys something. I could tell you, it is so much when I listen to the whole story, and I guess because I do know a lot more to the story than I can put out in the public. And I had to tell the same old thing over and over again. But there's so much information there that I do know already about this whole story that I'm unable to talk about. And sometimes that thing is really irritates me, knowing what I do know, and then have to just put out things that you guys know, and to expand on that to kind of give you a clue why I believe that the story is bogus to me. You know, so there's a lot more to that story. Also, thank you also, Lionel, for being here this morning again, being a part of the team, A-team, and also being part of the board. So thanks so much. An investigation is only as good as the investigator, and you're right. And this coming from you guys. This coming from a former law enforcement. So thank you so much. They have the ability of pushing an investigation in the direction they want by the questions they ask, and more importantly, don't ask. And you're right. One of the things is I always put that prime example. We could take the same exact scenario. Rather this officer, somebody say, well, he was acting strange and he was doing this and blah blah blah, and he was at the scene right that morning. He just came to the well site to check the security of that well site to make sure here's an officer. Let's say this is a cruise. He came in behind his worker, came there, had a brief conversation with his worker, and the worker said he just waved and drove off. The officer just waved and drove off and never was seen again, right? I don't think it would have came to this vehicle being in this ravine. And there was an officer missing, an officer of the law missing. They would have said, well, he's a grown man and this also wanted to disappear, he can, right? It goes back to the same thing Shira was Nation asking about the responsibility of a job. I get it. The job had a responsibility to look for their employee. But let's say they look and they didn't find nothing, right? And almost 30 days later, this first of all, they would have been searching forever. But let's say they'd stopped searching. That vehicle right there is a police cruiser. Land on the ground, the officer uniform 3 feet away from the vehicle, his badge and all that, his wallet, his gun still there. Haven't been fired. His cell phone in the vehicle. They've been calling this officer for days, almost a little over a day before it finally was voicemail. All that stuff, same scenario. You best believe you think they would look there and say, well, to the family and to the public, well, there's no foul play suspected. We was able to give the family, the officer's family, his clothing, his personal effects and things like that. We marked for safekeeping so the family can come get those things, blah, blah, blah. They would make this a criminal case. They would make this a criminal case. If you get what I'm saying. And this is what I'm thinking what Mr. Larnell is saying is, they can do what they want to do. A lay person look at this. They're only looking at this. And so sometimes people ask me, try to make it a black or white thing. I don't know. I can't speak the minds and hearts of people, but I can tell you if anybody look at the scene, and I can't say I'm a biased person in some aspect because it's my son. I know my son, I have to be. I have to be that way to support him and who he is as a person. But at the same time, I have common sense that God gave us, and I do have eyes to see, and I do have a brain. Some people won't call it half a brain. I got a full brain, and I got to have a brain, and it's common sense. And you look at that scene and look at the circumstances around it. The vehicle wasn't there 2 to 3 days prior. And he wasn't riding around in the desert for almost 30 days before he wrecked the vehicle there. There's all this evidence that's there, and you look at all the evidence and everything, and still in your state to this day saying, and it's been going on 11 months, my son missing, and you say, I don't suspect no foul play. Come on now. You guys know if there was a police officer, every Blue Lives T-shirt, every police officer from all over this country, everybody, matter of fact, CNN, everybody would probably had a station put out their tent out there to do 24 hour, 48 hour, whatever, however hours in the day, my mind, 24 hours a day coverage out there about this officer missing. That's all we'll see on the news. We're like, oh my God, we're just talking about this officer again. Here it is 2 months later. Here it is 5 months later. I mean, first of all, it would never went that long. They would have found this officer a long time ago. But the point is, I'm saying my son is just as important as that. The same kind of money they can pull out their behinds to try to help look for officers, the same money they can pull out their behinds to help any family, especially for me and my mind, my son. So they can make and do anything they want to. The FBI, all of them, they can do anything they want to make things happen, but they choosing not to, because my son, to them, is not that important. He's their job important, meaning that we're just going to do the bare minimum that our job required us to do. And after that, he's not worth our money. He's not worth our time. He's just some guy geologist missing. So that's the way that it comes off to me. And but I'm gonna keep pushing it. And that's the reason why I'm telling you guys, as much as people say to me, Mr. Robinson, how long are you gonna be doing this? How are you gonna be fighting? Nobody can determine that but me. A lot of people that probably determine it for themselves. Man, I don't know why that man's still out there looking for something. I ain't going out there no more. That's your time limit, right? Everybody have their own mind. I don't know why he out there, man. I would have been on stop looking for my son, but that's your son. That's your life. That type deal. So I had to do what's in my conscience. I had to do what's in my heart for my son, and I had to fight for him. And if this department don't want to do anything, I'm going to try to do everything I can possibly to make sure that another department actually come in. When they say they have outside agencies, I'm going to make sure those outside agents actually come in. None of them ever came into my son's case that I know. When they say outside agents, law enforcement agencies, I don't give a damn about no damn Civil Air Patrol agency or some posse thing, and they can play those word games or whatever. No, I want to make sure I push really hard to get some real investigative stuff done in my son's case. And it will happen. It will happen. I will keep pushing it. And you guys can help me do that. So thank you so much for being part of this Q&A, listening to my concerns, and also you guys, when you guys put out their information like that about it, it helps. Thank you, Sean, to put it up on Paramount Plus. Watch the show Never Seen Again. On Paramount Plus, you guys is out. You can see the interview. You can even see Ken, his interview. It's a subscription streaming, but they have a free trial. But you guys can go watch that, and I encourage you to watch it. You get a little more information from the guy who say he last seen my son out there in the desert. So, all right, Shiro's Nation, did you catch the vibe in the Paramount film that Ken was being condescending when he said, "I am here to work," as if he was saying Daniel wasn't? I've seen a lot of things in that Shiro's Nation. Of course, because I feel I really don't believe his story at all. I don't. And one of the things is I look at body language. Is one of the biggest parts for me when I look at body language. I look at your eyes, constantly looking down to the left, making up stuff as he go. I look at the change of story that he even doing on camera. Saying, "Hey, look, that's not what you said." Detail wise, I know it'll be over time, and I do make errors myself. I make errors on things I say when it comes to the exact wording detail. Over time, yeah, things do get kind of disordered, and I can be fair with that. But at the same time, just looking at some of the body language and things like that, that really puzzles me. But yeah, that's one of the things. The saying that right there, he's here to work. Yeah, my son is always here to. He's definitely there to work. He wouldn't have came to work, like I said before. My son didn't want to come to work. He would have came. And you know what? And the other part is, if he didn't want to work that day, if Buckeye would have did half a job detecting and investigating my son's disappearance like they should have at the beginning, they would have realized my son, according to information I know, has either been working, but he'd been moving around all night before, really late before that next morning he had to be to work. He had to be to work 7 o'clock, been to the job 7 o'clock in the morning, early in the morning. A lot of people still sleep at that time in the morning. He had to get up and then do a full day job out there in that desert. In that desert, he 120 something degree weather. So he probably was tired. So if the comment was true about him being tired, yeah, it's okay to be tired. It's not against the law. It don't make you a criminal for being tired. I'm tired now. I mean, I'm on drugs because I'm tired. Half of you might be tired at work right now. Don't mean you're on drugs or something wrong with you because you're tired. You ask, hey, you want to go get some rest or something? Or, hey, you know what? Can I take the day off? I'm just very dead tired today. What's wrong with that? But sometimes they can take things and try to make a criminal, make my son. Like I said, it's all character assassination type stuff to me. It's all ways to try to make the victim on the circumstances of their own self. Like the victim is the criminal or something's wrong with them. You know what I'm saying? But they're the victim. No, come on now. They're not going to do that to my son. Could Echo Search be helpful for search? And I thank you, Brooklyn Rose, first of all, for being here. I'm not sure which chapter would be in Arizona, but I know there's a lot and they have helped find many missing. I know Deuteron, former LE, now YT, is a liaison. And I'm thank you for, again, thank you, Brooklyn Rose, for putting information out there. I get that from time to time. Sometimes, you guys, I'm saying that's sure that's been following for a while, been hearing me say this again. Yes, I reached out to Echo Search. I reached out to many nonprofit organizations that say they can help. I don't turn down help from nobody. I need all the help that I can get, especially when I was out in the desert. Those are very pressing times for me to try to, I had reporters say, hey, Mr. Robinson, how you still get volunteers after such a time to come out? I say it's all God. It's not something I'm doing. It's something that's a matter of the heart of people who come out to help. That's between them and their own conscience and God. But they do come out, and I'm really grateful when people see a need and they show up, and I really love them for it. I asked these nonprofits. I did talk to a guy named Dave Rader for Echo Search and some of these other. But I get a concept. Echo Search. I have gotten Echo Search brain. I'll just put it that way. Because people throw it out so much. But Echo Search made it clear that my sons, for that reason, I don't know what it really means, that my son's case don't fit their profile is the word they use. And what that means, I do not know. But they did not come out to help, and they have not come out to help. But to their fairness, I always put that out too. To their fairness, he said it don't fit their profile, but he gave me a name of another nonprofit they may be able to help. I reach out to that nonprofit who's specializing in drones and things that I needed out there. As you guys know, I've been pushing that out for a while. The drones are very costly, a couple grand. I wasn't willing to pay it. I could have took the money. Sometimes hindsight, I look back and say, oh, I wish I should have just done it. But, I'd be really careful. I'm not a professional at this. I try to be careful where I use you guys' money. I use partial of my own money. I use partial of you guys' GoFundMe money to fund the searches out there. And so one of those biggest things was to make sure I'm funding it correctly, utilizing the money the right way, to try to distribute the money the way I can to keep the searches going, keep the city, it had a city search at the time, city distributions to, everything else I'm doing, being able to be in Arizona, live there, and all that kind of put all that together. And when, like I said, I did need those drones. I mean, very, very much so. Need those specialized drones. I'm talking about certain drones that's capable. I have drones out there all the time. People bring their drones out. I even purchase a drone for the searches. But those drones don't have the capabilities that I needed to do the certain type of search I was looking for that would help me find certain things. And so this company, this one nonprofit organization did provide that. They did have that, had many of them. He even broke down the technology that they used, exactly what I was looking for, and I was really excited. One of those things is at the same time, I was inviting the Buckeye Police Department out to come out to the search that weekend. I had this big event. Hey, I put it out on social media. Hey, this big old event for the search. The Buckeye Police Department, I put them on the spot. They said they were going to come out, which they ended up doing. Like, they came in kind of partially empty-handed. But there's also this non-profit organization. I'm not going to name them. Was supposed to be out there too. The plan was for me to have Buckeye to invite them. They like to be invited for whatever reason. They need to be invited in. I put that in a letter to the Buckeye Police Department Chief Hall to include them reaching out to them with the numbers and everything, contact information, to reach out to this nonprofit because it ain't gonna cost Buckeye nothing. And that's what he expressed. He stressed that a lot. It won't cost them a dime. Let them know it ain't gonna cost them a dime. They just need to invite us in. And blah blah blah. Put that all in the letter to Chief Hall. I don't know if they ever call these people or not, but he told me in the background. He said, "Well, if they don't invite them or not, they still can come." But that morning of that search, of course, he called me. The nonprofit that is called me and say he wasn't gonna be able to make it because some of the guys that work with him with the drones that control the drones, whatever they do, just didn't show up or something something he told me like that, So those kind of things I'm saying is I really reach out to nonprofits, but I'm telling you the way I am. I reach out because I need help, but I don't rely on people. Meaning that you see, I'm here, took off and came to Arizona to find my son. I want the department, for instance, the police department, to do work. That's their job. There's nonprofit organization, not their job, but I know it is law enforcement job to do their job. And when they don't do anything, even if it's a nonprofit, they don't do anything. I'm doing it myself. I'm gonna say, well, this nonprofit can help me, and I'm put my hands on my chest and don't do anything. I'm gonna do everything I can. This is my son missing, and I'm gonna do everything I can to keep things going. So, but like I said, I wouldn't be able to be successful at it if one of you guys. I wouldn't be able to be filing a nonprofit for myself. The nonprofit will provide some of those things, a lot of those things, all of those things that I needed law enforcement and some of these nonprofit organizations to do. So you guys, please bear in, pray for this nonprofit, the Daniel Robinson Foundation. In its infancy stage, we're gonna do great things with it. So, thank you guys for being supportive with us. And thank you, T. Sophia. I haven't seen you in a while. Thanks so much for your question, but I haven't seen you in a while. Thanks for being part of this Q&A. And I really appreciate all the stuff you have done for the efforts of finding Daniel. How can Buckeye Police Department say if in the police report the coworker says they got there at 9 a.m., then at 9:30 in another part of the report? That's because that's what they do. I'll tell you, sometimes what I'm trying to tell you guys, they gave me a final report, right? A final report. And I'm sure they're scrambling because I'm telling you, when what got me and made me not read any more of the reports too, I was doing a live, and you know this, T. Sophia. I was doing a live with one of the young ladies. I don't know if I should put her name out, but she was doing a walk through the report. I thought she had a report that I had, but she had the new report. This new report they got is all this supplementary report, whatever they want to call it. And we was going through it line by line. I'm using the report they gave me, the final report. And I'm going to line by line, and I noticed that they changed sentences, they changed this, and I'm like, where you reading from? And then realize it's because they changed some stuff. So sometimes it's almost like how my mother used to say, and I'm not saying this by part of my opinion, but my mother used to say, it's always good to tell the truth. It's always good to tell the truth, because then you don't have to remember your lies, right? And sometimes when you do that, you go back over things and try to cover up something, your lies, you end up telling another lie, and things get worse for you. And I can imagine if this was happening, it's just getting worse because instead of you doing the right thing in the first place, you're trying to scramble and you're just messing up. But then you got all these copies out there and different things, and then you go back and try to change it again. Then all the people collectively give me these copies, which I'm getting them, and then they all different. You know what I'm saying? That says a lot. That says a lot. That says a lot about integrity and everything else. And one thing I learned in the military, one of the biggest parts about yourself is have some integrity about yourself. Like I said, for me, I'm not perfect, but I try. I try to be. And the thing is, you got to have some type of integrity about yourself, especially when you supposed to be getting the public trust and things like that. They lost my trust a long time ago. This department lost my trust, and that's sad. That's sad. You can't trust the department. I'm pro police, and you can't have they trust at all. They don't have my trust at all. I don't trust them at all to handle my son's case. I want them off of my son's case, and I'm pushing for that. But anyway, it said then the report says they don't know where the vehicle went after 9:06 a.m. And because they're all over the place. They're very much all over the place. Just like some other things they have in the report. So this all over the place. All over the place. The report don't make sense. That's why, you guys, I don't read the report. It stuns me. Someone say, well, blah, blah, blah. And I say, well, they say, well, it's in the report. It says this. And I'm like, what? It really, really? Because I don't know. I stopped reading it after some of the other BS that disgusted me. And from my timeline and things I do know, the actuality that's happened, my timestamps that I got to voice recordings, to, you name it. These guys just make up stuff as they go, and they're screwing themselves all over. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is, it's gonna come to a head eventually, and so they just hurting their own self. I don't have to do anything; they're doing it to themselves. So thank you so much, Sophia, for pointing it out. If my moderator's there, of course I know you are, and you guys are always hanging in there with me, and I really appreciate. I love my team, you guys. I really appreciate you guys being here to help. Please remember what T. Sophia. T. Sophia, I think you have my number, personal number. I believe you do. If you can, just test me that, because I'm really curious about that. I want to go look that up. Thanks so much. All right. And Q, a question from Timestamp, Terry's assistants. The question there, thank you for putting a big capital letter Q there. That helps. When was the last activity used on the phone, and how does it match the timeline of the coworkers are given? That's the information I can't give out. Timestamp. I really apologize for that. I do have an investigation going on of my own, and that's the information I do have. However, at the same time, I cannot publicly put it out because I'm still, it's an ongoing thing for me. And I'm not talking for Buckeye. I don't really believe they have an investigation. They never came to me and say, Mr. Robinson, we're investigating your son's disappearance. Never. The matter of fact, they told my investigator it wasn't, and they told me they didn't have no more leads file. That's the last time I even heard anything about them even possibly. I hear things in the media. That's what I'm saying. It's like a bunch of disrespect. You'll say all this in the media just to try to make yourself look good, but they never come to us as a family, me or my family, his mother, anybody, with anything, this department. So they don't come to us and say, this is what I'm doing. They don't come to me, a man that's on the ground with my boots on. I like to say boots, I'm military, but my boots on the ground fighting for my son, that we're doing this, we're doing that, that kind of deal. They don't come to me with that. So, but at the same time, Timestamp, Terry's assistant, thank you for your question. I won't be able to give that information out. I really appreciate you coming into the Q&A and support it. So thanks so much. All right, you have another question here. Has anybody looked at historical satellite imagery? I tried to. A lot of them was outdated, such as Planet Lab. I never heard of that. I can look into that, and when and see when the car arrived at its location. Planet Labs, I never heard of it. I can try to remember that and see if that's something different. I tried a lot of satellite companies, and the way I look at it, just trying to look, it seemed to be thousands of satellites up there. And I did look into satellite. There's thousands of them out there floating around in space. But that's that location. There's a military base near on the other side of the White Tank Mountains there. And I only imagine that somebody has some kind of satellite footage looking down that area, but I just can't find the right one and access the right one. And a lot of those, like I said, the ones I have seen, it was outdated. Meaning the last time it was updated was years before Daniel went missing, some months before, and then the ones that's recent was after, that's updated after Daniel went missing. So they have little to no use for what I'm trying to do. So thank you. All right, LL, have a question. How close is the power plant to where Daniel's Jeep? Man, that's probably, I say about a good 20 miles or something. It's far. It's really far. It's not close. I'll just put it that way. It's close, but it's not close. It's close enough where you stand out there in the desert area and look down south, and you can see the plume of steam or whatever you call it that comes out of that nuclear plant thing. But as in, I know some workers that come help in the search of that works down there at that nuclear plant. So, yeah, it's not. It's too far. I'd say like this. Too far from. Definitely too far walking. It's going to take you a good while, at least 15, 20 minutes just to drive from that point off of Sun Valley Parkway, I believe, to get there. It's a good distance away. I'll just put it that way. I wouldn't have an exact measurement of mileage and things like that, but it's a good distance away. It's not close at all. But you can see it from a distance. All right. Eudora's mama's garden. The Jeep ended up on federal land. It was placed there. Why? I don't know where you get information from but I really believe that. I definitely believe that it was placed there by my investigators, my former investigator. His assessment. We believe the vehicle was staged there too. We do have that, I believe, but we don't have the things to back it up just yet, other than just the common sense of the mileage that was driven after the fact and things like that. The damage on the vehicle all suggest that, but they have word of mouth say, "Hey, I placed this vehicle there," that type deal. We don't have that just yet, but it did end up on federal land. It's right there on, right on the border of it, basically, you can say. But based on the map, at one point we thought it was a few feet west of where my son's vehicle, where federal lands began. But according to the map that was given to me, to one of my one of the team members, that map did cover the area where Daniel's vehicle is. So I called BLM after. Now this is the funny part. After I got the information from them, I used the same map they gave us and said, "Hey, look, by your map in the area with the coordinates, yes, is indeed on federal land." But now they don't want to talk to me. They say, "Hey, no, we need to go through legal channels, and law enforcement got to come, blah, 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 so on, so on." So, I'm having a little rough time with that now for them to confirm it. But I know it's there already, but to confirm it, I have a hard time for them to admit it, because now I tapped into that, and they're relinquishing their responsibilities. I talked to the agent himself who came to do the case briefing, and he told me even if it's on federal land, it's Buckeye's jurisdiction somehow. I'm really confused about that because I don't never known the federal government to relinquish their jurisdiction to local state jurisdiction. So I really don't get that, or override. They're override by the state jurisdiction. So that's what he's telling me. And I'm just going to further notice. I'm just gonna have to roll with that until I can fight that situation. All right, Sheroes Nation, have you had a chance to look at the report I sent you about the damage to the vehicle? If so, what are your thoughts about the theory? I don't know a report. You probably seen it. One of the team members probably had received. I believe they did receive a report from somebody. So I'm assuming it was you, but I didn't get a chance to look at that or whatever. Was you saying it was the police report or some other report? I didn't get a chance to look at it, but you did send it. It depends on how you sent it. It probably one of the team members probably tried to present it to me, and I have so much going on, and I'm sure I missed it. But I would, if they're here and they can remind me, I would take a look at it and then let you know what I think on the next Q&A. So again, you guys know I do have a Q&A this afternoon. I need to get off now. It's 2 hours. But I do have a Q&A this afternoon at 5:30 specific time. That's Arizona time, California time, at 5:30 p.m. today. So that's 8:30 p.m. in the East Coast. So you guys can join in on that Q&A. I really appreciate it. I will be back. I'm trying to get more people to be involved. I'm trying to give you guys some content and things like that. I just don't have the time and find the time to really do so. But I really want to add a little bit more to these Q&As and stuff, other than myself just talking. And we talk about some of the things. I love the questions that you guys have. If you have them, that help out a lot. some information I do like to put out, and that comes out in the Q&A. I try to remember those. My team, they help me with that. But, you know, I definitely want to get other families on this Q&A to help them out. So I'm putting out the plea out there to people who want to utilize this platform to lease. I mean, it's not a really huge one, but it's big enough to talk about their loved one. You know, just something. I just need to give something back. So if anybody know anybody who ever missed a family member and they want to talk about the story, their family member, they can come on this Q&A, like set up time with them and things like that. So y'all definitely keep that in mind. I do have a question here from Endoros, Mama's Garden. Thanks so much for being here. I couldn't hear if this question was discussed, but was the Jeep actually placed on tribal reservation land? No, there was no vehicle on, his vehicle wasn't on tribal land. So there's on the tribal land I know that's in that area is east of where Daniel vehicles found. That's on the other side of Sun Valley Parkway. But I don't know any other areas other than that. But definitely the area that this vehicle is found here is not on any reservation land. So, all right, fast and prayer for Daniel next Wednesday on the 25th. You guys can put that hashtag there, fast and prayer for Daniel. I really appreciate it if you guys can continue to do that. Get an algorithm going on that because we will have that, and I do need all the help and support I can get from that to get people involved and engaged to coming along with the like I said, to come along with the prayer and fasting because I definitely need that. Do have a question here from Ashes to Ashes. How did Ken know where Daniel's sister lived? Well, Ken, no, he didn't. Well, I didn't get anything that said he even been to my daughter's house or even said that he knew where she lived. So if you're hearing that somewhere, I'm not sure familiar with that. Only person I was now saying about Daniel's coworkers is the coworkers from Matrix, from his job. Ken works for another company called Weber, but Daniel, he works for a company called Matrix. And I was referring to his coworkers. You know, I have a hard time, and I get it. The media say one of his coworkers was the last person to see him at the well site. I don't like to call the guy a coworker because they don't work for the same company. I think that confuses people. They say, oh, he was with his coworker at that well site. No, my son Daniel never met this guy. This guy worked for a company called Weber outside of Daniel's company. He's a representative of this company called Weber. My son just meeting this representative from that company out there, just him and this other guy. So Ken is a person that works for a totally separate company from Matrix New World that my son worked for. And when I say coworker, maybe I'm not making myself clear. That came to my daughter's house. I was talking about one of the workers from Matrix that came out to inquire Daniel's location. So, all right. I think I'm coming down to the end. I got Navy Girl X. And if I missed any questions today, you guys can come back this evening if you can at the Q&A prime time. Just an observation about that worker. If it's June, wouldn't Daniel be wearing sunglasses? I mean, I hope so. He liked to wear Ray-Bans. You know, there's some shades and things like that. I still have, and I'm having those tested too, by the way. You know, there's so much stuff we find out there in the desert. Is in proximity to where Daniel was last seen, and also proximity to this crash site. And one thing was sunglasses. One thing was a sunglass case. One thing was a cell phone. All those things had to be forensically done too. You know, they kind of related but unrelated. I'm thinking, I don't know. And I need to see if they are related to my son's disappearance. That's investigative work. You know, it's like finders keepers. I'm not investigating anything Buckeye. They didn't even have no investigation. They didn't tell me they had an investigation. They didn't come to me and say, Ms. Rouse, we have an investigation, first of all. Second of all, I haven't seen anything they're doing out there other than what we're finding, and they may be trying to take credit for. But you know, yeah, I hope he do. He liked the way he's a Ray-Bans guy. We did see certain style of aviators type style glasses out there that we as a family don't believe is Daniel. But of course, those things still have to be looked at. So just in case we don't know, Daniel say, hey, one day out of blue, hey, I want to wear some aviators or something. I don't know. So, you know, try to look at that. Do you think it's possible that Daniel, thank you, first of all, Kathy. Do you think it's possible that Daniel and Ken got into an argument that went too far. Anything's possible. And I'm saying the only part is, like I said before, this whole narrative about what happened to my son comes from one person that the story haven't been fully vetted, in my opinion, in a way that would rule out any of that what you're talking about. That anything that the possibility he's lying about the following the tracks that he can't see, the tracks that's he can alienate all the other tracks from Daniel tracks from all the other tracks and things like that. So none of that was vetted. None of his story. He wasn't given a lie detector test. He wasn't, all kind of stuff. So whatever they do, it was none of that. So, all right, Kimberly, how can I read the police report? Well, the way most people do it, they do go to the Buckeye website, Buckeye Police website, or Buckeye City of Buckeye website, one out of two. I just know that I got my report directly from them, but my two report, the partial and the full, but the and completed report, but the new ones now, yeah, most people go online and get them. It's ready and available online through their website. So that's most people get in, they print them out or whatever the case may be. But yeah, you can get online. All right. Captain Cheatham, thanks so much again. Were the reports written by the same deputy or officer? No, they don't. They kind of all add in their pieces and things like that. So, it says that they separate what officers saying whatever. So, all right. Question here from Laura. Thank you, Laura, for coming on Facebook. Questions. You say you stop foot searches because of money. Why? If it's all volunteers, it shouldn't cost money. Well, it do cost money. First of all, and I know it's like you're saying out there, it don't cost anything when people say, "Hey, I want to come out there to search," right? But yeah, it do cost money for things I have to do out there. We definitely have to have the equipment out there that I utilize. Like for instance, we have to have razors and quads. We have to have a command center. We have to provide water. We have to provide. These are the things. Well, it's easy for me to take people out there and say, "Hey, you know what? I'm going out in this desert, and I go empty-handed, and I'm out in the desert. Can you guys come out and help me?" And they do. And I tell you, like, people are willing to do whatever, and they really do. And I'm really grateful for that. And that's why I tell them every chance I get in a safety briefing. But I'm a military guy. I know that you cannot tell people. And we go through. I say it like this: it costs the military money. Before we even go get deployed. We can easily go out there, I'm sure, with the weapons and things like that, and they give us a plane flight, whatever the case may be. But they spend money on the contractor to come out there to give us this thing called heat training. All right. We had to go through heat training before we even go out there so we can know how we can deal with living out there in the desert, right? These desert conditions and things like that, how to keep ourselves safe. They had to take money. We living on the farm out there in Afghanistan. I used to live on this farm called Kushman, near the Pakistan border. And we're so far away, we had times we was running out of water. But logistically, they was drop these water off on these pallets out there from I don't know how to do it, but they drop in through parachute, right? But you got to have water. They spend, I'm sure, millions of dollars to make sure that we got water out there. So you got to have some logistic stuff. You got to have those things. You got to have those things ready and available every search. I can be irresponsible and say, "Hey, I need you all to come out there and just join the search." I had to have some responsibility to the volunteers and everybody who come out there to the search. I really care. You guys taking your time out to come out and spend time with me out there looking for my son. I want to make sure he's safe. I want to provide you with radios. I want to provide you, like I said, with the equipment I need. I use the quads and the razors. I had an investigator. I had to pay for his equipment to be out there to do the searches out there, and also supposedly investigative work. I had to pay for those quads and razors. I had the quads that they use. I paid for the razors myself, like I said, to make sure volunteers are able to get back to our command center where we provide water, snacks, radio communication, and so on and so on. So it's an organized search. I mean, I can have an unorganized search, Laura, that wouldn't cost money. You're right, but somebody can get injured or hurt, and we don't have no resources there to provide for these families or these people. These other people's families too, putting themselves at risk. I can do that, or I can be a responsible person that I am, and making sure that I have the resources out there proper resources and the proper way I can search, whether that's drones to everything I need to properly do a search. So it do cost money. And I don't know if you ever did searches before, Laura, but if you do, then you'll understand that the reason why it costs money. But thank you so much for your comment. I really appreciate you being here on the Q&A and coming out. I think this is your first one, and I really appreciate it. You coming out there. So God bless you for that. All right. If anybody else have any questions, please, if you can, come out to the Q&A this evening at 5:30. I will be answering more questions. And don't forget if you guys have the tip line there for if you have any tips and things like that. I really appreciate it if you can, utilize that. And, I really, really appreciate that. You can utilize that if you have any answers to what happened to my son. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. God bless you. And I guess I'll see y'all this evening. It's been 2 hours and 20 minutes. And my team always say, David, the thing's getting longer and longer. And, the thing is, I'm aware that I do be going over time. I do have time limits, and I do have other things scheduled. And then somehow I end up getting just that close. Somehow I get off just in time and end up making what I need to be doing. So I need to make sure I look at my calendar and make sure I'm straight. But thank you so much, guys, for coming in. And I hope I get to see you this afternoon.